to Clarity on Fire, a podcast for people who know what they don't want out of their life and career, but aren't sure what they'd rather be doing.
In a world where it's easy to exist, but hard to feel alive, we, Kristen
and Rachel,
two certified life and career coaches, are here to help you cut through the information overload, get unstuck, and focus not just on how you can have a career you're passionate about, but how to create a whole life that feels fulfilling.
So join us here, where we serve up inspiration and down-to-earth wisdom in a way that only two best friends can.
We want you to experience the relief of knowing that, yes, you're allowed to want more out of your life and career.
And no, you don't have to wander through the dark anymore. Our job is to light the fire that shows you the way. Let's go. Hi.
Hey.
All right. I've got my cards.
You know what it's time for?
Well, it's not time yet because they're going to have to wait. While I shuffle.
Have you built some anticipation?
Yeah, because I have a sermon and I just feel like if you're going to go to church, like the best part of church when I was little was like the cookies that you would get in like the rectory downstairs or whatever afterward.
Oh, afterward? Yeah. Cookies and like the lemonade or hot chocolate.
Coffee or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I would always be beelining toward those, they had like pecans in them. Do you know what I'm talking about? They're like shortbread cookies.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Yeah.
Sandies, maybe?
You had a lot of donuts, so I don't know.
But I would beeline for those cookies after church. And so if you want your cookies, which is your reading, your message from the universe, you're going to have to sit through my sermon first. But I'll keep it shorter than most preachers and hopefully more interesting than some. So I was having a conversation yesterday with one of my clients who I just really, really, really love her. I mean, I love all of them, but I do really like her for many, many, many reasons. And we were having a conversation about dream jobs. And she's a thriver, and she sort of had to come to terms with the fact that, like, is there such a thing as a dream job for someone whose dream is maybe not to work? Period. Like, if she had her way.
Yep.
And this is what I said, and this is going to be controversial, but I don't care. And then I'm going to break it down and make you understand it if you have a reaction to this. I said, I know I've used this word a lot in podcasts, in interviews, but sometimes I'm really cautious and unsure about using the phrase dream job at all, because it implies, like, for a dream job to exist at all implies that capitalism is a nirvana. Know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's not. It definitely has problems, right?
Dream job within this system, but if you don't feel like you fit well in the system,
right,
is a dream job really that possible?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes the need to pursue a dream job is coming from this place of being encouraged to fit into the system when actually the system might be kind of broken.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are struggling to figure out your dream job, I don't want to trick you into thinking that it totally exists in the way that you wish it did or does, because what might be the problem is that you're just not a good match for this effing system that we have. That is not, this card just flew out, but we're putting it back. See if it shows up again. Because what if, you know what I mean? Like, what if actually the system is just the problem and you're not the problem? I mean, we've been saying this so many times, but I just want to hit it over the head that this system is not perfect. And I'm not denigrating it or building it up. I think that there are pros and cons.
Well, I think any system works, whether it's financial system or legal system or education system, any system is going to work really well for some people, but it's never going to work perfectly for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
That's the nature of a system, is that it tries to be a one size fits all, but humans are not a one size fits all.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes the disconnect isn't that you're doing anything wrong. Sometimes the disconnect is this system doesn't align with how I'm wired. So think about the education system and kids. It works really well for a certain type of kid.
Yeah.
It does not work very well for other types of kids. It's a lot of sitting down all day. It's
Way
a lot
too
of
much-
memorization.
Way too much focus for a kid. Like kids aren't
It's not
designed to focus.
tactile enough for some kids.
Yeah.
So some thrive and some don't. And it's not necessarily a sign of intelligence.
Not at all.
It's a sign of learning styles. Same
Yeah.
is true with working.
Yeah. And again, I think there have been some benefits to how we operate in trading our time for money and then using that money to buy resources. Our lifespan is certainly longer than it was before money existed.
Sure.
Before money existed, most kids didn't make it past infancy. Definitely not past 2 years old. One out of maybe 10, if you were lucky, probably.
A lot harder to save for retirement when you're trading in eggs and chickens and hay because they don't last. It's hard to save them.
And hard to save for retirement when your lifespan was probably 35.
Exactly.
You know? So
pros and cons.
Pros and cons. Pros and cons. But, and I mean, money's existed for thousands of years. I mean, we'd have to go really far back to figure out, to find when money didn't exist.
Some kind of monetary system.
Bartering has existed for a long time. But anyway, all I'm saying is that I'm not saying that the system is totally terrible and we should throw it out. But I do think that if you can't fit into the system, I want you to maybe focus less on, I need to find a dream job, and focus maybe more on how am I wired and how can I cleverly plug into the system in a way that works better for me and not expect myself to be able to fit into it perfectly, because that's what makes us sick. Now, I do think we can change the system. And I do think that you figuring out what alignment means for you and then demanding that whatever you find next align better with you is your way of healing the system and bringing more, honestly, feminine energy back into the system, more compassion, more
and frankly,
rest.
There are other systems. Even within, if you're in America, there's the overall system of capitalism within America, but then industries have systems too. If you're in the banking industry, it's a very different system that you've plugged into than the performing arts system.
Yeah.
Or different countries have very different systems. So sometimes you have to figure out, how am I wired?
Yeah.
What about my situation is aligned with that? What are the things that I can change to make it more aligned? But sometimes I might need to look at alternate systems and figure out, how do I plug into those so that life feels a lot smoother for me, because I'm not paddling upstream constantly.
I mean, hey, I'd love it. Personally, part of me wants to try going back to living in the woods and just not needing money. I also don't know that I would like having to do all of my own vegetable farming.
I also like showers.
Yeah, I mean, right, like there's some
I get cold easily.
People treating my water and making sure it doesn't have diseases in it. I like that. So I get it. There's a part of me that wishes the system would crumble and something new would be built. And maybe it will. Maybe something even better will happen. But that takes time. And while we're waiting, you might still have to pay your rent. And so it pays for you then, if you have to participate in the system as it is, even though it's not perfect, it pays for you to understand how you can best align with it and game it. And not be taken advantage of, but take advantage of it, if at all possible. And by take advantage, I don't mean like in a negative way. I just mean make it work for you instead of you feeling at the effect of and being made sick oftentimes by a system that's not actually propping you up or supporting you.
One of the good things about the system that we are in now is because of the technology aspect of it, we have more options than ever. And so if it's not working for you in one arena, there's way more choices that might be a better fit for you than most people have had maybe ever before, which can be freeing. And it can also be incredibly overwhelming. It's a big thing we get into in coaching is, how do I first figure out what I need and how I'm wired and what would work well for me? And then how do I sort through the mind-numbing amount of choices out there that paralyze me from even knowing where to start? That's a lot of that inner clarification work and then outer alignment work that we do through the coaching experience. So if you don't know if you feel overwhelmed by that, that would be normal. Most
Mhm.
people don't just know how to do this process. You're not taught this in school. You're not taught this at work. This is something that becomes intuitive as you learn it, but it's not something just built into becoming an adult.
So if you need to do that work, like if you need to figure out how, like, what does alignment mean for me? Like, how can I make this work for me instead of the other way around? Me working for it. Nah. It's got to work for me. That's work we would love to do with you in coaching. And today is the last day. This is where we offer. This is where we take the collection plate around. We've reached that part of the. We've reached that part of the sermon. Now is the time.
We need like an offering hymn in the background. But yes, if this feels
today's
like
the last day.
Yeah, if this feels like work you need to do and you feel stuck doing in your own head, which again would be normal, then reach out for help. That is why coaches exist. That is why Rachel and I have spent over a decade building a process to take people through thousands of people over the years, because we know that this doesn't really exist in most arenas of life. We had to figure it out ourselves. It was very messy. I wish there had been a process that we could have plugged into back in our 20s when we were completely floundering and not knowing what was going on, but feeling like everything was misaligned. And so we built it. And we've tested it with a lot of people, and it works. If you are feeling stuck and you know that there are things that you could do to align yourself inwardly and align your circumstances to better match you, but you don't really know how to do that, we got you.
That's what we got
you. That's literally what we do.
Yeah. So today's the last day to request to talk to us about one-on-one coaching during this current enrollment period. We do not have, I don't know how many, we record these in advance, so I don't know how many spots we have. We didn't have very many to begin with.
Some have already been filled.
Some have definitely already been filled. So, but we'll still definitely talk to you if you sign up and you want to talk to us about it. And if you find us after this, it's okay. You can still go to the same page, fill out the same form, and you'll just be on our wait list, and we will let you know right away, like what our capacity is and how long it might be. But this is for people looking to get started in like May or June. We'll talk to you about the difference between our two levels of coaching. There's like 6 sessions, which is more like 2 or 3 months. And then there's 12 sessions, which is more like 6 or more months sometimes. We'll talk to you about how that works.
You don't have to know 100% you want to do this, and you don't have to know 100% which of those two options you would want to do, but you have to be pretty sure that you have to be pretty seriously considering this in order to have a discussion, just so it's a good use of everybody's time.
Yeah.
But if that feels like something you have a couple questions about, or you just want to talk through it and make sure it's a good fit for you.
See if you want to do a vibe check. I talked to someone about the prospect of coaching just this morning before we started recording this. And she was like, just want you to know you're the exact same person on the phone as you are on your podcast. And I was like, that's the best compliment. I am me wherever I go. Doesn't matter if anyone's listening or not.
What you hear
is what you get. This is it.
For sure. Yep. So you shouldn't be surprised if you talk to either of us. Hello, you hear us in your ear all the time.
It's going to sound like this, but it's going to be about you specifically.
Yeah. You get to talk back that time.
Yeah.
Gets to be a two-way conversation.
Yeah. Okay. So the link to the coaching page is in the show notes, or you can just go to clarityonfire.com/coaching. There is a form on that page you will find. If you scroll down, you'll find a form to fill it out. Let us know a little bit about you, and then we'll reach out and we'll schedule an intro chat with you. Okay. And again, if you find this afterward, still fill out that same form, and we'll let you know what our availability is. Because if someone really wants to do coaching, I always make time for them. It's just, it might be like, a few months or a month or a few weeks. It just depends on where we're at in our availability.
Yeah. So don't be afraid to reach out.
Nah.
Just know that the timing will be what it's going to be. But you know what? The timing always works out the way it's supposed to.
Does have good timing. Damn it.
Speaking of which,
should we
move on to our cookies?
This cookies post sermon cookie time. Get up, run around. Okay. So the last couple of times we've done a message from the universe, I've gotten complicated with it, and I've read uprights and I've read reversals, which, if you don't know what I'm talking about because you're new to reading Oracle decks or tarot, that literally just means, are you interpreting the card up like in its upright position, or did you flip it? You know, when you pulled it, was it upside down? Because sometimes the meanings can change depending on your vantage point. Today, I think we're just going to read uprights. I want to keep it simple.
But we'll do our normal 3 cards.
We're going to do our normal 3 cards. So I will pull a card that's going to be on the left, a card in the middle, and a card on the right. You can either decide, you know what, I just want one card to be my reading for today. Maybe I have something in particular in mind that I want an answer about. You can pause and reflect on that before we go if you want.
You can ask a question. You can have something you just want clarification on.
It doesn't have to be a question. It could just be an open-ended, please comment on this. Or you could do a full like past, present, future. That's, you know, if you want to think of something and just a theme or a concept or something you're, I don't know, ruminating on a question and want to figure out, all right, where was I? Where am I now? Where am I going? Or we can do the problem.
The problem. The
advice
and or solution. What are you supposed to do about it?
Yeah, what are you supposed to do?
And then what's the outcome going to be?
The most likely result. Yeah. Okay. So however you want to do it.
We're getting better about articulating that one.
It's only taken a couple years. All right. So I've been shuffling these pretty much the entire time I just did that sermon. So we're going to get what we get.
We are well shuffled. I've got the descriptions ready to go. So we're going to start with the card on the left this is
interesting.
The past and or the problem.
Okay. Ready? All right. Oh God, not this card. All right. No, but this could be the past. So we're good.
Okay.
This is card number 31, Dry Desert. We've had this one before. It is a very...
I was afraid it was another card that we will not mention.
Well, we've still got 2 more. So it's a very pale blonde woman in the middle of a desert, and she's staring off in the distance, and there's some cacti and maybe a bird. I don't know, maybe a hawk or some kind of desert bird in the sky. And there's like almost like a pinkish, purplish, I don't know, maybe a dawn sunset. I feel like it's dawn in the background.
It's actually quite pretty card.
It is,
even though it's the desert.
It is pretty. So go ahead and read number 31, Dry Desert.
And for those who know, we always have a little quote at the beginning. So here's our quote.
Yeah.
Dig deep for inspiration and truth. Now is the time to become resilient and adaptable. So here's our actual description.
Okay.
Is your life presenting you with opportunities that seem to yield nothing? Have your ideas dried up? Does it feel like you're on an endless journey through a dry, hot, lifeless desert? This card reminds you that there are times when you're meant to become resilient as you journey through harsher circumstances. You're being required to conserve your energy until, after consistent effort, you reach the oasis that you're searching for. Consider the creatures that live in these conditions. They have adapted to thrive in spite of the outer environment. In a desert, water, which is essential for life, can be found deep underground. Go deep within yourself now. Find your truth there. Let spirit sustain you while you locate the real source. Whatever it is you're asking about will not be found in the conditions you're in until you move past the surface of things and choose to do the real work and discover the answers deep within you. This may not seem like the most productive time, but looks are deceiving. This is a most important place to find yourself, to find what is truly right for you.
Well, I don't hate this being in the past, if that's how you want to interpret it. But it could also be just an acknowledgement of your problem, of what it feels like your problem is. It feels like I have no options. Everything feels dry. It feels like nothing is working.
But we do have a little bit of guidance already in this first card, which is there is water.
There's
deeper.
life under the surface.
If you're just looking at your outer circumstances, it might look like not much is going on, but there's a whole well of support and answers. You have to go a little deeper. Okay.
All right. Okay. Let's see what the middle card is. Oh, 16. Rescue. Wait, have we had this card before? This feels familiar, but I don't know if we've ever read it on the podcast. Do you recognize this?
I don't recognize that.
Okay, so it's like a floating landmass separated from other land. There's a waterfall. There's a
lot going on.
There's like a red tree. It looks like a chimney, but it also looks like a Greek pillar.
But it looks like a chimney that has a rainbow flowing out
instead
of
it smoke. Yeah, and then in the sky, there's a man in a hot air balloon. The hot air balloon is green. He has
a giant telescope.
Telescope looking glass thing. And there's a woman a very small little woman at the top of the waterfall, sort of like where the river is flowing into the air.
The man doesn't look like he's looking at her, but
no, he looks like he's looking into the distance.
Okay.
So there's a lot going on here, and it says rescue, and I have no idea what the F this means. So I feel like I've seen this card, but I don't know that we've ever actually read it.
Yeah. This is not familiar to me.
Okay. Card number 16, rescue. Obviously, we'll take pictures of these, and you can look on, in the show notes, there'll be a link to our site where you can look at these pictures.
Okay. Our quote, "You are always safe and secure and free to be yourself." Asking for help isn't easy for many successful people. However, that's what you need to do now as you expand your life. If you find yourself troubled, you can expect help with whatever issue is at hand now. You need only ask and assistance will come your way. The most important support you can expect is from spirit. Get into a right relationship with the divine, and you'll see that many conditions line up as if by magic to provide you with all the help you need. Ask and you will receive. There is no need to fear. Safety is a place within. Got that same kind of imagery of going within for answers and safety and nourishment.
Did you read the quote?
I did.
Oh, I don't know. I blanked out. What was it again?
You are always safe and secure and free to be yourself.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe that was just the beginning of...
Nope, that was our little intro
that was the quote. Interesting. You know what it almost is like? It's like if you were to zoom in on what's happening on like a deeper level at the dry desert, it's like you zoomed in and you see this. It's like there's water on the, like, because there's water in this card. So there's like water underground, there's water on the inside. And yeah, maybe what's happening is that you need to ask for help
to be rescued from the desert. But the help might also be kind of within yourself. Yeah, the help doesn't have to be from a person. It can be from the universe itself. And like this woman looks kind of stranded because like this is like a floating island in the sky. She's like at the front of
and you know what?
At the top
she can't see her rescuer. She doesn't know he's there. He's like above her, looking around. He's looking. He's also not looking at her though. It's like he's looking, but you know what he sees? I think he sees the chimney. And he sees that there's life coming out of it because there's a rainbow coming out of it. So I think he sees that. So I think he's getting it, but she has no idea he's there because I think from her vantage point, she's not looking up. She can't see him. So help is always available, even if you can't see it. Sometimes you have to think to ask for it, or just maybe it's just wait,
be open for it.
To quote Mrs. Doubtfire, help is on the way, dear. Remember that?
Of course.
So that's interesting.
Okay.
So
we had a desert. Now we're being rescued. There is water. This is either your present or this could be the guidance to ask more specifically, maybe the universe, or, feel into who do I need or what do I need to ask for assistance? What do I need to surrender and let go? And like, all right, I got to stop trying to figure this out myself. I got to like let the help come to me. What do I need to ask for? So let's see where this is leading.
Remember that safety is an internal game, as most things are. All right. Woo! What's our future card? This was our jumper from earlier.
Oh, it came back.
Don't you love when that happens? Now, we have had this one before.
What is it?
It's number 4, Spirit of Place. This card jumped out when we were talking specifically about capitalism. And I was thinking, I feel like that's actually a perfect card for what we're talking about right now, but I couldn't totally remember why. So let me it looks like, like a naiad or a dryad or whatever, like one of like the forest nymphs. In classic Greek.
The little pointed ears.
And it looks like a tree that's coming, almost like she's a tree that's sort of the spirit of the tree is coming to life. and her eyes have like moth wings coming off of them, and in her hair there's like leaves, and it's kind of connected to this tree with red leaves in the card before.
The card is darker colors, but the leaves are very vibrant around her.
Yeah, it's very green and gray, but then the leaves are very like bright yellow, orange, red. So, okay, let's read Spirit of Place. Quote first.
Quote first. Authenticity is the essence of power.
Okay.
And the last card said you are free to be yourself.
Okay.
So we've got a theme going here.
Okay.
Our ancient ancestors believed that every place has a spirit looking after it or embodying it. Just as we have a soul, the plants, trees, birds, mountains, and rivers have their own essences. When the Spirit of Place arrives in your reading, it says that the answer to your query is in the overarching theme of your circumstances. Is your question about a struggle? The answer is to relax and let go of your need to control the situation. If your inquiry relates to finding love, then embody love rather than long for it. Once you find the essential truth that underlies your question and then name it, you'll discover the answer you've been seeking. Your greatest power is your authenticity.
Yeah. So to tie this back to what we were talking about earlier, I feel like this is kind of a heady a concept. So I kind of want to try to make it more understandable. Yeah. So I feel like what it's saying is that let's use our capitalism example from earlier. If the essence of your struggle is, I don't know how to fit into this system, what's underlying that is I don't know how to like feel abundant and feel like I'm thriving in this particular system. So I think sometimes what comes out is like, I just need a new job.
Mm-hmm.
And what you need to get to is the spirit of the question, which is,
what even is abundance?
What does abundance mean to me?
What is enough? What is thriving?
Right. And then if I define that, then it becomes easier to embody abundance and embody thriving. And then I become more of a match to things that match with my new definition of abundance and thriving. I think the example of love is also easier to comprehend. Like, I just want a new relationship. Well, okay, what is it that you really are craving? Oh, I want to feel seen and I want to feel supported. And those are lovely things. And you can have those from a romantic partner. And you're going to be way more likely to get those things if you are simultaneously working on making yourself feel seen, supporting yourself, seeking it out in healthy relationships with other people, like friends.
Embodying it and sharing it from your end
and living it
while you're attracting it from another side.
Yes. Instead of waiting for it to come to you, you live it, and then it comes to you because you're living it.
Yep. So this card is always makes me think the answer is kind of in the question.
Yeah.
So what is the question you're asking? Well, let's actually dig into why you're asking it. What's behind it? What do you really want? And that's the answer to the question. It's kind of inherently built into it. So to me, this feels like we started out in the desert. Feels like nothing was really around.
Nothing's happening. There's no evidence that things are working out. Maybe it feels very dry and dusty. In the next card, there is water. We found some resources. We have support coming our way. Even if we can't see it.
Even if we can't see it yet, we can trust that it's on the way and we can ask for it and call out for it. And in the last card, it's like the answers have kind of been there. You have access to them. You might have to do a little bit of going underneath, right? Like we said in the desert card.
And asking for
going
help.
Going inward and or going outward and asking for external help. But the answers are there. They're available for you. And you can get to the core of them with what you already have.
Which doesn't mean that, again, you are allowed to ask for help.
Yes.
To do that.
Right. And there's that rescue piece of it. And you might be rescuing yourself. You might be asking the universe for rescuing. You might actually need help from another human. You might need to ask for other people to help. I remember the description of that card said, successful people have a hard time asking for help.
Yeah.
But sometimes we need it.
And again, that help doesn't have to be from people. It can be from the universe itself. What can you outrageously, openly just give up to it and be like, all right, I can't do this on my own anymore. I'm going to need an answer about this, or I'm going to need a guidance about this, or I need you to clarify, like, what is it I'm actually asking for? Because maybe I don't even know what I'm asking for. And maybe also trusting that if you ask for something, the universe knows what you actually mean and will give you often what you need, not what you asked for, which is the bane of my existence some days.
I feel like this reading was not as action oriented. It was a little bit more of going inward.
Yeah.
And it was more about clarification and support
and perception.
Which is interesting. There was a theme. I felt like these all tied together.
Yeah. It's a complex one. It's not as overtly like, do this, now this.
But it's a hopeful one too.
Yeah. Yeah. Help is on the way. And you might also be your own help, actually. It's already there. You just got to access it.
Desire and questions might actually be leading directly to solutions.
Okay. And remember, the dry desert was in the past. You've already been there.
Yep.
I mean, that is if you're reading it from the past perspective.
But even if it's the problem, maybe you're there, but you don't have to be there for long. There's a lot of momentum into even that card itself was starting to give answers. So we weren't really mired in that problem, even if it feels current. I always love to hear how these resonate for people. So
I mean, inevitably, we always get some comments and some emails afterward that are like, oh my God, this was exactly what I needed to hear. And sometimes it's like a month later that they listen to it. And of course, it's that day exactly what they needed to hear.
Of course. So let us know what this meant for you. And maybe one of the cards in particular spoke to you. Maybe the whole message really resonated. And make sure you go to our site if you want to see them, because we do always post the picture. So yeah, I know we describe them, but it's kind of hard to describe these types of cards. It's not.
They're very layered and nuanced and complex.
They have a dream-like element to them, which makes them harder to imagine unless you actually go see it. So and they're beautiful. So you should go check them out.
Okay. All right. That is that. And we will be happy to talk to those of you who are like, all right, last day.
If you need some rescuing and you need to ask for some help.
And you need to get to the spirit of things.
Yes.
Beyond the surface. Drill down into that well that's underlying this dry desert that you happen to find yourself in. Well, you did come to the right place. And I don't pick these cards to support my argument that you do coaching. The universe just likes me like that.
I can verify she was shuffling the whole time.
Karma is my boyfriend.
If you know, you know.
If you don't know, I can't help you. Okay. We will see. Okay. So clarityonfire.com/coaching. And we will see you next Friday with a new Dear Rachel.
Okay. See you then.